stained glass windows for churches and synagogues and temples throughout the United States. It's located here in St. Louis, and this window was made in 1995.
Really? It's funny. This is a very serious window, but then look at this funny little character here. He has a sense of humor.
Yeah, he has a sense of humor.
So,
if you know Rodney Winfield, he's a very gregarious and a very, very talented artist.
Could we see some more?
Well, this is the printing press.
Oh, okay. All right.
That indicates, obviously, a development of the word, of the spoken word that now becomes memorialized in the written form. And prior to that was the manuscript, where only a few people were able to write. But basically, the M stands for the manuscript. And you can see that this is upside down, but this is an illuminated page to the left, if you look the book the other way, which kind of summarizes what was contained in the book, And then over here, we have the very beginning, where people would write down what is spoken.
Oh, okay.
Just a verbal...
the scribes.
The scribes, right. As representing the scribe.
Neat. These are lovely, lovely windows here.
Here we have another number of windows. You can see that the center window represents Christ, and below him is the founder of the Jesuits,
Get up a little closer.
St. Ignatius Loyola, who was the founder of the Jesuit order. And that's our motto for the greater glory of God.
AMDG.
AMDG.
Somehow that found its way onto all Catholic papers, as I recall,
That's right.
even from grade school.
That's correct.
AMDG.
And then we have here the four evangelists in a typical traditional, the lions or so on. We have Matthew on top, Matthew, and Mark is over there, Luke and John.
Okay.
What's so fascinating about this is that the technique has been adapted to the materials of modern day, of the year 2001, although these were made in 1995. And the color is a vibrant color that will last for years, and yet there is a long tradition of making stained glass windows, which has been handed down from person to person throughout the years, and it's just wonderful. So when the sun is shining and there's a tremendous amount of light in this renovated gallery, which used to be the university's library, all these stained glass windows are just vibrant in color.
This is unbelievable. Just a beautiful, beautiful art gallery here. Father, before I forget, this is totally off the subject, but I was shocked to notice. I pulled out a magazine there, and there was a picture of President Biondi with Charlie Sheen crossing not a picket line, but it was a protest taking place at the School of the Americas, which I'm sure everyone has heard about. It's been in the news widely, and very few people relatively have taken a stand against what would be considered traditional conservative American policy. And I think that, well, to me it's really unusual, and I'd like for you to comment about that. But before that, I want to just say that the Jesuits really did have set a tradition among Catholic institutions for taking a stand on controversial issues. I was honored myself to meet Dan Berrigan once, and he's a well-known Jesuit who has been active for many years, and among other things protested the Vietnam War. And I'm just wondering, yeah, it's a great poet.
Well, you know, the School of the Americas is a particular area or section of Fort Benning, Georgia, where our soldiers, American soldiers, are trained. And basically there's a Department of Defense or Department of State section of that fort that attracts and trains military people from Central and South America. And basically was founded in 1947 to train military personnel from Central and South America in order to combat communism in Central and South America. And then eventually it began, especially when communism was failing in those countries, it went to the point of controlling supposedly terrorism. But that seems to be too simplistic of a point here. Basically, the paramilitary people who had been in these areas were basically trying to control individuals from being more democratic, especially the poor people, the campesinos, people who were not being heard in terms of their voices for equality in the workplace. And unfortunately, some 11 years ago, 6 of my fellow brother Jesuits, 2 of whom were educated here at St. Louis University, were murdered by a group of El Salvadorian captains and lieutenants. In the middle of the night, they were dragged out of their home, and this small community of 6 Jesuits with their housekeeper and daughter, the housekeeper's daughter, were also killed because they were obviously witnessing this. And the School of the Americas, I think, only recently has introduced an ethics course for their military guests, so to speak, from South and Central America. So every year on the anniversary date of the death of our Jesuits, there are a group of students from across the United States, and this time there were about 10,000 people who were demonstrating that somehow the School of the Americas must be closed, that times have changed, and we must take responsibility for social injustice, and it is an unjust situation where military people are going through villages in these countries, and just because there are poor people there who want to have a voice and have a say in their own economic development, close them, kill them. So there are countless men, women, and children who have been killed. And so I felt I wanted to go with our students. Our students invited me to go to Fort Benning, and we had about 290 of our students and a number of faculty. And I felt impelled to witness, especially the fact that my brother Jesuits had been murdered, and the trial indicated that these soldiers were indeed guilty, and after 1 year, all of them were released from prison. So it was a way, I think, of demonstrating for the poor, for the marginalized, the disenfranchised, that the School of Americas must be closed.
I can't help but admire your courage, and I just want to comment that it's been a long tradition within the Catholic Church and perhaps within the Jesuit order in particular to not simply have a concern or compassion for our fellow Americans, but to have a compassion that reaches out to all people, whether they were fortunate enough to be born in the United States or wherever. And although our country exports one foreign policy, it's nice to know that there's compassionate people and great leaders like yourself that export a different side of what it means to be an American, and an inclusive side that strives to build up the culture and life of foreign people.
Well, you know, the Jesuit tradition is not simply to train young men and women a competency or to have a discipline so when they graduate they can get a job. We want to train our students to have a sensitized conscience, to help them develop their social awareness and to develop their conscience based on Judeo-Christian ethics and values and principles, so that they can make a change in their workplace, can make a change in their communities, so that when they leave St. Louis University, they can, with the knowledge that that they have developed and received, the education, the formation, the spiritual, physical, and psychological formation that they've received, that they can make a difference in their society, that they can indeed be leaders. So as an example, I felt in my conscience I should do this and take the personal spiritual experience for me. I wasn't going out